y'all, it's Katie and welcome back to my channel. Today I am super excited to bring you guys this video because I got to sit down with Gregory today and talk with him about his season, about Deka, about strategies for beginners, and all kinds of different fun topics and stories as well. So it was a really fantastic conversation and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So without further ado, here's the interview. So I am here with one of the Deka greats. He brought home 5 Deka World Championship titles in 2023. He is the king of the air bike, the owner and head coach of Underdog Fitness, also known as Bubbles the Clown. I'm excited to introduce you today to Kevin Gregory. How's it going?
Great. Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. Well, it looks like you're off to a fantastic season. You've already done countless Deka Strongs, miles, and Deka Fits with teams, individual, ruck. Yeah, how do you feel about your season so far?
It's been good. I think with a season where you pick your A race, mine being World Championships and defending my title or titles. A lot of the year is kind of how do I structure my training program so I don't get burned out. So I've been doing a lot of those things to compete. I mean, anyone that started Spartan Race ever turned into going from one race to 100 races in a season immediately because that's just what everyone does. But the availability of being able to do a bunch of Dekas in all varieties has allowed me to scratch the itch of competition, but also like stay around the community, see a bunch of people, try a bunch of different strategies. And I love doing teams, and I've teamed up with I don't know how many people. That'd be a fun stat to try to have Jack Bauer, AJ Golick figure out how many partners have I raced with in the spectrum of Dekas. Because coming from a team sports background, it definitely gives you a different dynamic when you get out there. So for something that's very simple and you'd think you'd probably get bored of it after a little while, it's definitely kept me very dialed in and fun, but also in a way where I'm not over I guess burning myself out training for the same exact stations in the same order over and over and over for a lot of time. So I guess that's kept me busy and focused, kept me driven. And I usually would have run some Spartans by now, but they just schedule all the events the same day as everything else. So I haven't made it to any Spartans this whole year, which is mind blowing because since I started, I've run tons of Spartans every year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would be definitely interested in that stat too, because you've done 1,001 teams, it seems like. For sure. Yeah, and that was actually where you got your start, right? I watched your little intro video on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
But how did you get your start in all of this with Deka? And it was through OCR, right?
Yeah, 2011, one of my buddies from college, I was still in my college town. I graduated, but then I just stayed there because I got a job and everyone else left. So one of them reached out and wanted to get together and do this thing called Warrior Dash, which has since left us. God rest its soul, as of many other OCR companies. But I think what I was attracted, like we used to get together for like drinking events all the time because that's what college people do. They have that in common. But he was like, "Oh, let's do this Warrior Dash. It's not too far from college, so I'll come back up, and then it's not too far for you, and it's this 5K mud run in the mountains, and there's obstacles." And I'm like, "All right, cool." I mean, at the time I was playing semi-pro football, and that was fun, but the level of commitment wasn't there, and I hadn't done anything individual before. I never like I ran a 5K or something, but it wasn't like it was just kind of to do it. It was never this. And after running Warrior Dash, I thought it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And in retrospect, like we're trying to me, the fitness community of LCR and hybrid is trying to rip people off the couch to go do like a Spartan race for their first event because that's kind of like what the baseline is. But Warrior Dash wasn't hard. It wasn't anything crazy compared to what we have now. But running on a mountain for 5K was like way outside of anything I'd ever done training for lacrosse or wrestling. And after I finished and it kicked my ass so hard, I was like, wow, this is hard. When can we do another one of these? And then we found out about this other race brand called Tough Mudder, and there is one. a few months later in New Jersey in November, and it was a half marathon distance, which I didn't even know how many miles that was because I wasn't a runner. And I was like, we definitely need to train harder for that because this kicked our ass. So if we're gonna run 13 miles of this is going to be really hard, and it's supposed to be harder obstacles and this and that. So we downloaded like the Tough Mudder training plan and followed it. And we went to New Jersey in November, and most people that did that race got some sort of like hypothermia or like ended up in the med tent. But we trained pretty well. We had a blast with it, and then they had this thing. It was the last regular season Tough Mudder of the year before World's Toughest Mudder, and they had a costume contest. So the night before, we went to Party City and we picked out some costumes, and then we won the costume contest. So they gave us a free season pass for next year. And then we were like, well, we got to keep doing these things. This is going to be crazy. Like next year, we're going to go to all of them. And back then, all of them was like, there was like 15 or something in the whole country, but anything we could drive to. So that's kind of how I got my start. And then I did Spartan the following year. Like in the fall, I did Tuxedo, which was well known as like the hardest sprint rather. The course was very rugged and mountainous and just outside New York City. And then I did my first beast in the fall of 2012 at a mountain that anyone in the Northeast has ever heard of called Killington. I didn't fail. I trained my butt off for that too, because I was like, wow, everyone that's done both tells me Spartan's like 10 times harder than Tough Mudder. And we invited a bunch of our other friends, and one of my friends that wasn't like a college guy, he was one of my buddies through work, ran cross country at Springfield College. So he was an accomplished runner, and we went to Killington and they said go, and he took off, and I ended up beating him in 5.5 hours or whatever in a beast, because although he could run, he got crushed by all the heavy stuff. So we finished, and that was cool, but that was kind of the beginning. And then hybrid came out much later, like COVID time. And then that's kind of, I think when I saw that, I was like, finally, a sport built for me. I'm bigger, stronger, and I don't have to run a half marathon with all these cross country runners to be competitive. So I did some high roxes before COVID, and then since COVID, and Deka came out kind of during the post-COVID era. So I found less running, more stations really benefits me more. So you kind of want to do what you're good at. So here I am.
That's awesome. Especially with like you said, the background in lacrosse, wrestling, and football, those are all very, physically heavy sports, and, you're doing a lot of weightlifting with those. So that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. I didn't know that you did those sports either. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's funny because I referee now lacrosse. I coached for a couple of years, or I guess a few years. And I found that coaching high school lacrosse got in the way of things like going to races, because they put all the games on Saturdays, and so are my races. But when I started officiating, and when you ref, you get to tell them when you're not available, which is when there's races. So I moved into that realm, and I've been doing that for, I don't know how many years, but probably close to 10. And I was reffing a tournament a couple of weeks ago at Stony Brook University on Long Island. And I had like 10 games for the day. So we blow the whistle, the teams that are warming up on the side come out, they run out on the field, you ref the game ends, they leave, the next team comes in. It's just like turn and burn. And I look at the sideline and I'm like, that guy looks a lot like my high school coach, who I haven't seen really since high school. And as we're running up and down the field, I asked one of the kids on that team, I'm like, hey, what's that guy's name over there, the coach that's in the box? And it was my high school coach. And I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, when did I play high school lacrosse? When I was 18. I'm 38 now. 20 years later, like that's my coach that I haven't seen in 20 years. Like I must be getting old. But we didn't have much time to catch up. But at halftime, we said hello, and like he didn't know who I was, or like he didn't realize who I was at the time, and because we haven't seen each other in so long. And then after the game, we chatted for as much time as we had between games, and it was just crazy, like hearing and seeing like what he's done, and he obviously played a big role in what I ended up doing athletically throughout. I played in college, so where I was when I was with him as a senior in high school who wasn't getting much playing time, and then going to college and starting as a freshman and playing my whole season. But I'm like doing the math in my head. I'm like, how old is this guy? Because he coached me in high school. He was younger, but you're not 18 when you're coaching. Like 25, 28. Like, is he 10 years older than me? And he's 6'3" and pretty jacked and like well taken care of. And most of these coaches are just like not really like that. It's kind of they're out of shape. They don't play anymore, so they don't take care of themselves. But I was like pretty impressed by someone that's still, working out and doing stuff. And we didn't really get a chance to talk too much about how he's been training or what he's training for because he's not competing, but he's coaching because his kid's on the team. But he was pretty impressed with what I've been able to do over time. So that was kind of nice. You want to make people proud that kind of are part of your development. So
that's awesome. Maybe you should invite him to a Deka event.
I know, but I tried to reach out to him after. I'm like, I can't find this guy anywhere. And I'm pretty good at social media stalking because it's kind of my you got to do it for work, for business and stuff. But I don't know. He's worked in schools for a long time, so I know a lot of times teachers don't put their real name on their social media accounts, so that way kids don't find them. But I don't know. I'll keep digging. I'll find them. I want to grab a cup of coffee with them, hang out with them for more than 5 minutes, and just like catch up. But someday.
Yeah. That's awesome. Best of luck on the search for sure.
Thanks.
Speaking of, I guess, new people into Deka, do you have any tips for any athletes who are just getting off the couch and into Deka or OCR, anything like that?
Yeah, I think if you're sitting on your couch and you're listening to this podcast, or you just stumbled across Deka or your friend told you about it and you haven't done anything, just sign up for one and go do it. So that's step one, because you're never going to be ready. You're never going to feel ready, especially if you haven't been training for anything. You're definitely not going to feel ready. And our mind plays more games with us than we really need to. It talks us into or out of things that we probably aren't actually ready, or maybe we're more ready. So sign up and do one. Now, once you show up to the event, don't go in with this, I need to race and get a great time. Your only goal is finish, which means you need to take your time. Just break it up like a big chipper workout, or that's what like fitness people call a workout that's going to take a while, usually with a lot of reps, which this is basically it. So, all right, I just got to get through these lunges and take as many breaks as you need to. And when you finish, go to the rower. Row as slowly as you need to, so your heart rate doesn't come up too high. You're all right, I'm in control. Good. Move on to the next thing. And just treat it like that, because until you get a baseline for you, you really can't compare yourself to the person next to you. They say comparison is the thief of joy. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think that's why so many of our athletes do well, is if they make it to having a conversation with us, then we get them to do what I just told you. And then once they're done, we have a time. And they was like, what's a good time? Like, a good time is one that you have. Then we can adjust and we can figure out how to improve. And even if they're not training with us and they're just coming to us to do a Deka, and then they're going back to whatever gym they go to, or they have like a community gym, like a F45 or Orange Theory, those aren't built to make you better at Deka, but the style ends up making you better at those kind of things. But there's not a Deka gym on every corner. So if you don't have one super close, find one that you can fit into the community. The community is going to keep you coming back, and the consistency is going to build your fitness and then your confidence. And then you'll be able to improve your Deka time over time. And there's so many hybrid coaches that work in person, but also online, because we understand that geography is a limiting factor. So with Underdog Fitness, my company, the percentage of people we see in person on a regular basis is so small, like less than 25% of our clients are in person. So we're able to do what we do because we've established system to help people that are not local. And then if they can come once in a while, like we have people that drive out of state once a month or once every few months, and then we can work with them face to face. But otherwise, if they're far, like Colorado or Canada, like we do video calls and we communicate that way. And here, do this test, send me some clips. All right, your time is this. I have a frame of reference on what it could be, knowing the times of the top athletes in the sport. So, okay, cool. Let's not spend a ton of time on where you're already like 3 seconds off the best people. Let's put it into the gap where you're like 2 minutes off of the best people. Let's do that. And then come race time, we can strategize so you can improve your time.
That's awesome. Yeah. And speaking of improving times and everything, especially for beginners in the sport, the consistent area that at least I've seen and, most people see is the air bike. People, push hard in the front half and then completely blow up on the air bike. So do you have any specific tips for that station, being the king of it?
Yeah. I think most people have some idea of what they should do. And some people are like, oh, I'm really good at the air bike. And like, okay, cool. Like what's your time then? And they're like, I can do it in the same time as you. I'm like, all right, that's good. But did you like reverse engineer your race strategy so you have that capacity during the race? Everyone can do everything looking good fresh. Like if you do each station fresh, you're gonna have a great split. But when it's deck is built in a way to break you down over time. So by the time you need your fitness at the end, it's mostly gone. So for new people or even experienced people, there's different energy systems you want to train and different power wattage that you want to kind of develop over time. But I caution you to not just get on the air bike and go as hard as you can until you die every single time, because it'd be equivalent to you're training for a marathon, but you're only doing like 100-meter sprints. And like, all right, cool. Well, guess what? You don't have that fitness when you get to the marathon. You're going to run out of gas before you lap the track once or whatever. So you need to develop your more aerobic base systems and whatnot. So not saying that you should only ever ride the bike slow, but you should do a lot of riding the bike slow. Think of it like a pyramid, and then do some intervals, but stop before you completely blow up. And then there's a lot of data analysis you can look at and try to figure out like how to build it up. But if you just generally go on the bike and one day ride it slow for a long period of time, long for you right now might be 5 minutes, you're dying. Well, 5 minutes slow, take a break. 5 minutes slow, take a break. And then you could build up to like 15 minutes and you're riding it slow. Your heart rate's going to go up, but your body's also starting to adapt to that stimulus. And then it's like, okay, cool. We don't need to rev our engine up so high to accomplish this feat, because we're actually don't need to. We can hit that without going crazy. And then do some spicy intervals where you push it hard for some amount of time. There's Tabata button and there's reverse Tabata button right on the screen. So you can do 20 on, 10 off. I like 10 on, 20 off for the air bike because your heart rate gets jacked and you kind of need a little more rest. And also the first 10 to 20 seconds is going to be all your like high intensity output you have. So if you try to go 45 seconds as hard as you can, you're going to run out of gas long before you get to 45, and then you're just going to be a waste. So try to rev up the watts for a short period of time. And then when you're like, okay, I'm starting to blow up, then just wind it down and rest. And it might be 10 seconds on, 50 seconds off. And just do intervals of that. And then if you can't get any power on the next interval, then take a break, walk around, wait 5 minutes and start over. But I just don't think people approach the bike in the right way. They go too hard and then they die and then they don't use it forever. It's like dieting. Everyone wants to be on this designer diet, but they only do it for 2 days and then they take the rest of the month off and like, my diet's not working. Where if they just get like half the puzzle right and do it 7 days of the week, that fits in margin for them to have their drinks on the weekends or their dessert when they go out for dinner or their breakfast that someone brought into work one day and they're like, oh, wow, like you can have a little of that. Just do well most of the rest of the time and you're going to move the needle. So everyone wants the magic formula for how to master the bike, but no, like you have to put in the volume of work without killing yourself to build your base. And then you can work on power and then you can work on explosiveness. And the two things I just talked about will develop all those systems. It's just a matter of time. I wasn't always good at the bike. My first deck on my bike was probably like a minute 40 or something like that. I don't have my splits exactly. I have the video somewhere, but I remember seeing people with better Deka strong times than me and watching their videos and trying to figure out how they did it. And their bike was always just a little bit better than me. So it was like, ooh, they got a minute and 30. I got a minute and 40. I got to get better on the bike. And then I get there and then the goalpost moved and they're at a minute 20. I'm like, And then I got up, and then 15. And then seeing some of the top people like Ryan Corning out of Jacksonville, he took like a 15, 20-second PR or something on a strong when he was like already the record holder. And like, message him. Everybody's super open to. If you just message them, they usually will get back to you and tell you the answer to any question you ask. And if they don't, then they're like the one in the million that's too cool to help you, or they just didn't see it. So that's probably the reason if they don't answer you, because sometimes things get filtered. So I was like, dude, how did you get such a big PR? And he's like, 100%. That whole time that I improved was straight bike. Every other split was the same except the bike. I was like, wow, you're under 40 seconds now. Jeez. I'm like just cracking 60. But then it was just like me versus him in my head. I mean, he wasn't like, oh, screw bubbles, but he just kept getting a little bit better, and I kept chasing him a little bit better and chasing him a little bit better and chasing him. And that's been how we've gotten better. I mean, I've been doing Deka since 21. So, I mean, I'm not saying someone else can't get to where I am much faster than me, because there was a lot of figuring out, but now we've kind of figured some things out. So the timeline of success is a little shorter. So but put that time in, and instead of going for hour-long slow run zone 2, do it on the assault bike instead. You get the same aerobic fitness and your training specificity. So
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. And I feel like that just needs to be preached so much more, is, quality and, good zone 2 base building over, the intensity, because everybody wants to do the HIIT workouts. And
that's awesome. all these gyms are like, most of the people I work with that come from already being really fit and plateauing and they can't figure it out. The biggest thing I do is, once I find out I'm like, what did you used to do? What have you been doing? And it's all 7 days a week of HIIT workouts. I'm like, when do you rest? When do you not do HIIT? Do you know your body never recovers if you constantly just beat it every single day? And we do less and we get farther. And then they start to understand the more holistic approach to training, where Thursday, generally most of my clients have a down day on Thursday. I'm not saying they have to sit on their ass and do nothing, but it's zone 2 work or something light. And that's whether or not we're competing on Saturday. And then Sunday's a whole day off, or active recovery could be like taking your dogs for a walk or going for a hike with friends. Like, I'm not saying you have to sit on the couch, but your heart rate shouldn't get crazy, at least like a day minimum, or 2 days a week. And then the other days, like if you have a HIIT workout, then you don't really need to do much else that day. Like, let your body recover. And there's some intervals and moderation. There's a lot of wiggle room in those other days, but if you're not taking a day and a half to deload, and you just do HIIT 7 days a week, 365, your body doesn't know how to burn fat anymore. And it's usually those people that are trying to do body comp. And I'm like, you're catabolizing. That's metabolism is the breakdown of fat. Catabolism is the breakdown of muscle. And if you're breaking down muscle, yeah, you might lose a pound, but it's not the pound you want to lose. You're not going to have better cuts. You're not going to have abs. You're not going to have definition. You're going to be softer and wet paper bag or wet plastic bag. The the visual that a lot of people are like, oh shit,
that's a good visual.
Yeah. So,
gosh. Alrighty. One of the questions I did want to ask you was, what is I know I have some pretty funny race moments, over the years and stuff, but you've done hundreds and hundreds of these races. Do you have any super funny moments that stand out, or races that just like are monumental in your memory?
Well, most people ask me what like the most memorable things are, and that makes me think of the times I've cried at the finish line or whatever, or failures that I've like taken and overcome and then use as fuel to go forward. But funniest ones, I can't think of a lot of them, because my mind just automatically attracted all the times I've fallen off the box, fallen off the rower, almost tipped the skier into the bike, and then had a domino effect of the Deka stations.
Yikes.
So I guess they all, all the funny ones just instantly go to Deka like bloopers. So Amber Tate, she's the box queen. I know Marissa Pope is also the box queen. I think they're both amazing at the box, and because they're so much smaller than me, it blows my mind how fast they can literally get over the box. Because I'm pretty explosive laterally, and I do a pretty good job, but they're just way next level. So,
Yeah,
flying. But because I only really race Marissa at Fits, so that's the only time I really see them. I follow her and Keaton from Hybrid House, so anything they post I always see because we interact enough that it always pops up. But Amber and Zach are always at our underdog events, and we go to a lot of their Canadian fit Dekas. So we competed side by side a lot, and Amber has a file of box blooper videos of times when her, me, Jess, Zach have fallen off the box in competition, and I don't even know the number of times I've fallen off the box in competition, but I usually videotape my runs because they're good. And anyone that wants to question my results, I'm like, here, critique it. Tell me what I did wrong, but I want you to know I did it. You can cut whatever, any way you want. And I really wish everybody that was going to set a world record or put up an elite qualifying time would do that. Just not so we can pick them apart and be like, oh, you cheated, but for people that they're beating to be like, how did you beat me? Because I think I'm doing everything, but you're obviously better than me. So how can I learn from what you're doing? And that has fed me a lot of blooper videos. So I think most recently, and I've encouraged AJ Golick, who does our media, and he's excellent on graphics and stuff. I've encouraged him to use that in a fun, loving way. And when I set the ruck strong record, I step 1 over the box, step 2. So this is doing the Deka Strong with a 30-pound ruck pack on your backpack or on your back, and do the whole strong or mile or fit. So when I was setting the ruck strong record, I stepped over once and the bag shifted, and I stepped over again, caught my foot, tumbled down, my hand elbow hit the box, then my head went down to the ground first, my feet went up in the air. It was like a cartoon. And when it happened in the moment, I'm like, oh, we're definitely going down. It just like felt like I would assume people on the Titanic felt like, oh, there's nothing we can do. We're just going down.
It's inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah. So after I hit the ground, I got my bearings. I'm like, okay, nothing's broken. All systems good. All right, let's get back into the box because I still have to finish this race. And then after we watched the video a bunch of times, and then he cut it up in a bunch of ways and added some sound and some fun stuff like that. And Amber's done that with some of that those blooper reels too. When Zach and I ran the mile relay last year, we set the men's mile relay record, and he fell off the box. So as he fell away, I tagged his ankle, and then I did the last 2. So he had a chance to get up and head out. And awesome. I was laughing. One of my clients, Ernie Cheatham, he lives out in Southern California. He did a teams race with I only saw his name like twice, Ernie's partner, but Ernie fell off the box this weekend in a mile relay sim, and Ernie did the same. He tagged him and finished the reps so the partner could go on to the sit-ups. I'm like, that's what it takes. You gotta know, like, if something catastrophic happens, how do I react? Like, is there something I can do, or it's not the end of the race? And as I mentioned, like, I set the strong record falling off the box. I set the mile men's relay record with my partner falling off the box. So you don't have to be perfect to like set a PR or do really well. It's how you react to the catastrophe in the moment. And I think I've had times where I didn't react well at the 2022 Deka Strong World Championships. I couldn't get my feet in the rower, and I spent a bunch of time messing with the footholds, and I let that get the best of me. And I wasn't racing my race anymore. I was racing everybody else and trying to figure out how I was going to make up that little mistake. And then I blew up, and then I died, and then I had nothing for the rest of the race. And I took myself out of the race because I let 2 tight straps like mentally fry me. But there's been other snafus that I've been able to maintain. Like right after that, I went to Canada for their first Deka Strong, and Ryan Kent was there. And we had a PR 1 second difference, and he had the record and I had 1 second difference. I'm like, I'm going to beat your PR, and you're going to be here to watch me, so you can't say anything. And I fell off the box there too. And the whole gym was there. Like there was 100 people staring at this strong run. and I clipped my foot. I fell down, and then I popped back up and finished. And my box split was actually faster than it usually is. I didn't beat his record that day, but I popped back up and finished the race pretty strong. And I missed it by a little bit, but like everyone's like, "Oh my God, I probably would have quit if I fell down." I'm like, well, that's one option. Like you could have quit, but what if you kept going? Like I did. I didn't break the record, but I finished. I wasn't gonna not finish, and I didn't lose anything. I mean, everyone laughed at me, but I think, I hope to have given everybody that was there a little bit of confidence, knowing that guy's supposed to be one of the best in the world, and he falls down, but he can get back up and keep going. I fall down all the time. Maybe that's okay for me to keep going and not feel so bad. And he's supposed to be like, everyone puts you on a pedestal when they think you're really good. I do it to a bunch of athletes I race against all the time. Like, at one point, I'm like, I can never beat them because of X, Y, Z. But you make up the reason why or why not you can succeed or cannot succeed. But I think the box videos falling off, there's probably a lot more out there than I'm aware of, not just for me, but everybody. So obviously don't want anyone to get hurt, but if they're not hurt, you can laugh about it. So like anytime someone falls down. But the other one, I guess, my first Deka Strong we hosted, so my first official mark, I went last out of everyone in the day, and I tried to do this really cool like sit up, last 25th sit up, and then hand down pivot and jump on the ski, but so much momentum got on the ski, it went through the ski, and the ski started tipping over, and it fell onto the bike as I'm trying to pull it back. And if I would have fallen, if that all would have tipped over, I feel like I would have been impaled by either the pegs on the assault bike or somehow, like I would have been just out of it. I don't think I would have finished that race, but at the time I put up a pretty good time. Even in today's standard, like it would still be pretty high on the leaderboard. But everyone, like the video of that, everyone's like, "Oh my God, I thought everything was gonna end." Like so did I. I'm like,
yeah, it's going over.
So I guess the funniest moments are all me failing or almost catastrophically like falling apart or making mistakes. I don't know, if you can't laugh at yourself, what can you laugh at?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess jumping back into your season this year, we only have about 6 more weeks of qualifiers to go. So how many divisions are you hoping to compete at in Worlds this year?
Well, I definitely want to qualify in all of them, but not just qualify in all of them, take all the qualifying spots in all of them. So I'm working on Deka Strong right now. I have 16 different partners or something. So I'm trying to take all the spots up from everybody. But in seriousness, I think I want to keep qualifying with everybody, knowing I can only take one person to the big dance per category. And I not only want to give myself the best chance to win and pick the partner that's going to work best for me on race day, because I think that's only fair to the person I bring. If I take someone that we don't mesh as well because I like them better, and then we don't win, like it wasn't the best fit for either of us, then that's doing a disservice to my partner. So although I'm racing with a ton of different people, I have 2 athletes in my gym specifically, like this is an example. I want them to qualify elite, and I want to race head to head against them. And if they beat me, I'm going to be more happy than if I beat everybody else. But I have an athlete, Mike, and I have an athlete, Katie. And they're both very, very good Deka athletes. Mike got second in his age group at Worlds last year to a different athlete that trains with us. And so the 2 of them were on the top of the podium. And then Katie, she's been getting better and better every year. She's podiumed in a bunch of different events. But when I race with Mike, I let him do the bike, and we have the best male time of the year. And when I race with Katie, I do the bike, and we have the second best co-ed time of the year to me and Amber. So oh my God, perfect. So, but with Mike, the stuff I do is more the agility stuff, and I let him do the bike, and we share the ergs. And with Katie, I'm doing the ergs, she's doing the agility stuff, and we put up a great time with both of these teams. But if you take me out of the equation and you plug and play Mike and Katie, now Mike's doing Mike's job, Katie's doing Katie's job, and the two of them are going to have a freaking awesome team time, and they don't need me to do it because both of them did what they're best at with me. So then they just fill in the gaps. And that is like an example of what I'm the most excited about. Like, yes, I raced with a bunch of these people, but now I know more about what their skills are, where their capacities lie. So when we create race strategies as teams, I'm putting each of them in the position to perform the best at the things they're best at, mitigate their weaknesses, and if they have opposite strengths, it's a perfect match. And if not, that's okay. You still split the things you're not great at. And I've done that for a lot of athletes I haven't teamed up with, but we're putting together some pretty good teams. So I'll run teams in every category, strong, mile, fit. And I've seen the time frame of the start times of these. So last year I did just the co-ed fit, and then I did co-ed and male mile. I ran the co-ed first, and then I went back to the starting line in the male and got my butt kicked because I just spent every ounce of energy in the co-ed relay.
They're so back to
So
back.
I let one partner down. We got sixth. And then I went out on Sunday. I ran individual strong, and then I ran, I think co-ed strong was next. Yeah, co-ed strong was next. I raced that, I won. And then I went back to the starting line and ran male strong, and I won that. And then I was ready to go back to the starting line and run the women's, but I didn't qualify in that category.
Yeah.
But I was just like so fired up. I'm like, I can race again. Let's go. Give me a partner. So I want to do as many categories as the times are going to allow me, but we'll see what happens. Individually, though, that's easier decision for me. I'm not going to race in the fit because I'm only going to be able to qualify an age group, and I don't want to spend my energy in that event. And then in the mile, I qualified elite last year, and I didn't have a great race, and I didn't want to drop out because I know a lot of people are watching me, and I want to be a good role model for mostly the up and coming kids. Like, I don't know. I feel like you should finish what you start. So I did finish, not last, but close to it. So this year, I think in mile, I want to qualify for elite, but I think I'm going to forego my bid and just focus on strong individual and then run teams and everything. I'm not going to be able to run ruck in anything, despite I'll qualify in all three, but it's because it's right before teams, and teams means a little more to me than ruck. But if they move ruck to a different part of the day and I'm just sitting around, like, hey, maybe give that a go. But that's the game plan. So I don't know how many races it'll be. I ran 7 races last year. I won 5 of them. And then this year, I don't know, 7, 6. I'm not sure yet. Maybe still 7, but a different 7 or 6. But I definitely strong individual, and then a bunch of teams, and figuring out who my best person to race with in each of those is. That's the hard decision. Once September 15th comes, it's like, time to start breaking.
You get all the invites coming in, and
I love all you guys, but I know our time was better than their time, but I think if I put you with this person, you guys qualified, you'll be a better match than me and you. So I don't know that. That's going to be a big flow chart on my wall as qualification season ends, and I have to make some decisions. But that's it. I want to have the most teams possible in the elite field representing our gym. And now there's age group teams, so it's crazy. Like, I've qualified with a couple young kids, like 16 to 18-year-olds. So I'm the top in like the under 59 division. And I'm like, we would definitely win.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I kind of try to leave the age group options.
Yeah.
Let some age group champions win some age group races, and try to race in the elite category as much as I can. So
awesome. Yeah, we had last Worlds, we had one guy from our gym. He won his age group in the strong, and he was in the 60 to 65-year-old. And then immediately after, he did male elite teams, and he was in the second wave right behind y'all. And it was crazy to see him already gassed, like going straight from podium into another race. And it was just like back to back. And yeah, that was They run them so packed, right back to
Yeah.
back during Worlds. But I wonder with the age groups and the teams this year, are they going to spread them out? Have you heard from Yancey at all yet? Or are they going to have them all the age groups and then the elite, back to back?
I know the schedule is on Zendesk, so you could look it up. I'm
Okay.
going on memory from what I'm saying, but I think it's gonna run like last year was women raced in the morning, and then the women elite went, men elite went, then the men's age groups went, and then they did elite teams, and then they didn't have age group teams last year. But everything's gonna be less time now because there's only one wave for everybody. So
Right.
you don't wait for wave two. Whoever crossed the finish line first is the winner. You're not like, oh, I hope no one sneaks up and beats me from wave two that qualified on a bad course or something. So I think it's going to go elite teams, then age group teams, and then some ruck is in there after age groups before teams, though, I believe. So that's going to make it tough. But thinking about to what you just said, like I ran the back to back, and I was hanging out with Grayson Kilgore this weekend, who successfully did what I wasn't able to do on Saturday World in the mile. He ran co-ed teams with Katie Duke, and he got second to me or third. I don't know. They podiumed. And then he went back to the starting line and he raced with Rylan. And I went back to the starting line. And I was supposed to be in wave one with him. And I was so gassed. They were like, we'll just put you in wave two. It's okay. He ran in wave one with Rylan and podiumed again in male. And I died in wave two and got sixth. So huge shout out to him for that. But we just had that conversation yesterday. Like, he's like, I was so dead. Rylan carried me. I'm like, you had to do something because you were facing two fresh male athletes, like a lot of fresh male athletes, like other than me. No one else had just raced like we just did. So props to him for bouncing back fast.
Yeah, for real. Oh man. Well, I know we're kind of at the nearing the edge of our time, but I'm super stoked to see what you and the underdog athletes do this coming year. I think of, AJ, like you've mentioned, Josh, Kayla, Katie, or sorry, Caitlin, and a couple others that I've
There's
seen
so many
online.
K names on the team.
Yeah, I know. The
We have
K's always
Katie's,
get confusing.
Caitlin's,
I'm a Katie,
Kayla's,
like,
Kelly's, Kevin's.
yeah. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of your elite podium chasers, and it's been fun to keep up over the year and see their seasons. So I'm excited. I know y'all got a lot of potential for this Worlds. So
Awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody that's there, like, come up and talk to us. We're all very normal people. We just have this big, bright dog shirt on, and that's easy to find us. But we're all very personable, and we want everyone to succeed. So if you have a question, like, we're going to tell you whatever we know that can help you out. We're not going to keep our secrets. Like, if you watch our socials, we're constantly sharing all of our secrets to make everyone better. Because if they get better, then we have to get better, and then we all get better. And we still want to win, obviously, but we want to do it because we upped our game, not because we figured some secret out and suppressed our competition. So
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
So if the viewers want to find you and your program on social media or online, where can they find you?
Follow the team at underdog_fitness gym US on Instagram. We also have a YouTube page. I think it's Underdog Fitness Gym. And not DM us and I'll send you the link. And then my personal page is Bubbles the Clown, also on Instagram. We have a Facebook page too, but find one of those. We have a website, underdogfitnessgym.com. Any of those things will lead you to one of those things, which should lead you to the rest of those things.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and link those down below as well. So you can find those down in the description. But thank you so much for joining me today. This has been super fun. And I know you probably heard my dog like whimpering at the door the entire time. He's such a baby. But but yeah, thank you again for joining me. And yeah, best of luck at Worlds.
Awesome. See you guys out there. Come say hi and keep training.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
So like I said, I'm gonna leave all of those links down in the description for you guys so you can check out Kevin and find him on social media. I'll also link his YouTube channel so you can check out all of the fun videos that he has on his YouTube channel as well. He does a lot of different Deka strategy type of videos out there, so definitely check him out. And if you like this video, drop a thumbs up or subscribe below. And if you really enjoyed this interview or having interviews at all with elite Deka athletes, then go ahead and drop a comment down below and let me know who you'd like me to interview next. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Stay healthy. Bye.